The truth about alcohol. 3 million people. That's how many die every single year because of alcohol. And among those 3 million, many years ago, was my biological father. Today we are not talking about statistic or science or sports or party culture. We are talking about real people, about families, about physical abuse, about broken lives, and about the reasons behind it all. And as you hear these words, I'm certain one thought has already crossed your mind. There's someone in your life right now who's heading down that same path. This video isn't about whether alcohol is good or bad. That would be far too simple, and that's not who we are. I would place today's episode among the less cheerful ones, but what it lacks in lightness, it makes up for in weight and truth. We will uncover why alcohol becomes a silent enemy. First, just a small companion at a party, but step by step it seeps into your life until one day you realize you are no longer the one in control. Talking about this is never easy. Objectivity, I will try, but you need to know this. Few things anger me more than the fact that alcohol isn't tied to stricter control. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why I say that. In today's episode, we will look at what actually happens inside your body when you drink, the biological, psychological, and athletic consequences. We will walk through the stages from the very first sip all the way to the last. We will talk about the hidden costs, the ones that don't show up right away, but slowly and quietly weave themselves into your life. And at the end, we will uncover what happens when you finally put alcohol down, what changes begin inside your body, and what that truly means for your health and for you. I think I'm ready. Shall we begin? One of my very first memories, it's crazy how vividly I still see it, was when I was 4 years old. My mom was screaming in panic, telling me and my sister to run out of the apartment because my father, drunk, had set a dry decorative plant on fire and the whole shelf caught flames. We sprinted out, racing down the staircase while my mom tried to handle the chaos behind us. I didn't understand what I was seeing or why, but the feeling, it's burned into me. The old man was obsessed with alcohol. At first, he would drink himself into being the fun guy, but it always ended in an emotional knockout that we were the ones to pay for. He was aggressive, he hurt us, he hurt everyone. As if, as a 4-year-old kid, I tried to protect my mom. It didn't matter to him who stood in his way. By then, he had zero control left. So my mom grabbed us and we literally fled. That's all I really know about my biological father. That's all I know about the man who was supposed to be my dad. I never saw him again. Every image of what a man should be, every real feeling of what a father is, I owe to my stepdad. To me, he was the real hero. For the rest of my life, I will be grateful to him for keeping us safe and giving my mom a second chance at life. I remember being around 13 years old when my mom sat me down one sunny afternoon on the edge of the bed and told me that my biological father had died. A fatal accident under heavy influence of alcohol. This is the first time I've ever spoken about it publicly, but when I tell you that being authentic means sharing your own story, this is part of mine. Because even the darkest chapters can be turned into something good, and for me, that time is now. What do I think about all this? I will tell you later. What can alcohol do to you? In short, this. I could end the video right here, but let's keep going. From the very first sip, alcohol doesn't just lie down your throat, it sets off a biological avalanche. What you're drinking is ethanol, a simple molecule your body immediately recognizes as a toxin. It's absorbed in the stomach and small intestine within minutes, and soon it's racing through your bloodstream. That's why you feel the effects so quickly. But your body doesn't just sit back. Your liver jumps into action because its job is detoxification. Ethanol is first broken down by an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase, turning it into acetaldehyde. And here's the catch. Acetaldehyde is even more toxic than alcohol itself. It's self-damaging, carcinogenic, and one of the key reasons alcohol wreaks havoc on your organs in the long run. From there, another enzyme, acetaldehyde dehydrogenase, tries to convert it into acetic acid, something your body can actually use for energy. But your liver has limits. On average, it can only process about 1 unit of alcohol per hour. Anything beyond that keeps circulating in your blood, reaching your brain, your muscles, your heart. And this is where the trouble starts. Your nervous system reacts as if you've taken a depressant. Alcohol slows down communication between nerve cells, disrupts the signaling in your brain. At first, it feels like freedom. Your inhibition drops, you're loosened up, but in reality, it's just shutting down your critical control. That's why people start out talkative, then stumble over their words and movements, and eventually end up aggressive, sad, or completely numb. At the same time, your hormonal system gets thrown off balance. Alcohol disrupts the production of the antidiuretic hormone. That's why you keep running to the bathroom. It's one of the main reasons dehydration hits you so hard after drinking. On top of that, your blood sugar starts to swing widely because your liver is prioritizing detoxification over regulating your glycogen stores. That's why after a long night out, you often feel shaky, chilled, or suddenly ravenous. And the more alcohol you pour into your body, the harder it fights back. Your stomach tries to help when acetaldehyde levels climb too high, nausea and vomiting kick in, a last-ditch emergency response to rid you of the poison. Meanwhile, your liver is working overtime, and inside your cells, oxidative stress builds up. Free radicals start tearing into liver cells, nerve cells, and little by little, they contribute to long-term organ damage. And here's something most people don't realize. Alcohol doesn't just sit in your stomach, it interacts with every single cell in your body. Because it dissolves in both fat and water, it easily crosses cell membranes and reaches every organ. That's why you can't control whether it only affects your mind, your mood, or your coordination. Your entire body feels it. And as alcohol runs its course through your body, it's not just your biology that shifts, it's your psychology too. This is where most people get trapped. After the very first sip, your brain gets a dopamine hit. The same reward center lights up as when you fall in love or hit a major life goal. That's why you immediately feel lighter, freer, like the weight has lifted, your inhibitions fall away, social situations suddenly feel easier, and for a brief moment you believe you can finally let go of everything. But this is where the illusion cracks, because your body is always trying to maintain balance. The dopamine rush doesn't last. The system swings the other way, dopamine activity drops and often overcompensates. That's when the crash comes, the anxiety, the emptiness, the heavy fog that settles in after the high. At the same time, your brain's control center, the prefrontal cortex, starts slowing down. Normally, this part helps you make good decisions, weigh consequences, and keep your impulses in check. But under alcohol, the brake is gone. That's why someone who starts off cheerful becomes louder, more emotional, and often aggressive. Alcohol doesn't give you a new personality, it simply takes away the filter. Whatever was inside, hidden, or suppressed suddenly floods out. And then another process kicks in. Alcohol is a depressant. It slows down your entire nervous system. That's why the high energy social buzz can flip so quickly into sadness, tears, or emptiness. What you were chasing for freedom and release an hour ago is suddenly the very opposite. That's the paradox. Alcohol first gives you what you want and then takes it away. Psychologically, it's a dangerous game because the brain learns. It links the first burst of good feeling with the glass in your hand. And the next time you feel stressed, anxious, or just restless, your brain whispers, drink. That's how the habit begins. And from there, it doesn't take long before one casual drink in a social setting becomes a crutch, and then slowly an invisible centerpiece in your life. And here lies the biggest psychological mistake. So many people believe they are still in control, but the truth is, it's alcohol that takes control step by step. First over your emotions, then over your decisions, and finally over your behavior. That's why so many people say, I didn't even recognize myself the next morning, because it wasn't really them. It was the chemistry pulling the strings. And this leads me to a question I hear all the time from athletes and people who want to train seriously. How much does one weekend of partying actually matter? Can you get away with it? What happens if you are on a diet? What if you train hard all week and then Saturday night you are staring at the bottom of a glass? That's exactly what we are going to look at now from a sports perspective. And this is where you will see I'm not biased against alcohol for the sake of lifestyle. I simply know the price tag that comes with it. When we talk about alcohol as an athlete, the very first thing worth clearing up is the calories. Most people don't realize that alcohol carries about 7 calories per gram. That's almost as much as fat, which is 9, and far more than protein or carbs, which are both 4. And here I'm not even talking about the thermic effect of food. The real problem isn't just in the numbers though, it's in the fact that alcohol calories are what we call empty calories. There is no protein, no vitamins, nothing that helps you build muscle or perform better, just raw energy. And because your body treats alcohol as a toxin, it burns that first, which means fat burning and carb burning get pushed to the background. In plain English, all that work you've been doing with your diet can be wiped out in a single night. And hormonally, the damage goes even deeper. One heavy night is enough to drop your testosterone levels for days while pushing cortisol higher. That's a double hit. It slows down muscle growth and speeds up fat storage. It's no coincidence that people who drink regularly struggle to lean out and constantly feel like they are spinning their wheels. Then there's recovery. Imagine you just crushed a hard workout and by evening you knocked yourself out with drinks. Your muscles are sitting there with micro tears that your body should be repairing overnight, but instead your liver is working overtime to process the alcohol. Protein synthesis, the very process that builds muscle, slows to a crawl or even stops completely. The next day you work out will feel weaker, your coordination will be off, and the risk of injury goes way up. And the timeline matters too. Your liver can only process about 1 standard drink. Think 1 beer or 1 shot per hour. So when someone really overdoes it, we are not talking about a couple of hours. It can take a day and a half, even 2 full days, before your system is truly back to baseline. And until then, every rep, every run, every ounce of recovery you try to get is compromised by the fact that your body is still busy clearing out last night's choices. So the question about the weekend night out looks like this. Does it fit in? Technically, maybe it could, but every sip comes with a price. You pay for it in calories in your diet, in your hormones, in your performance, in the result of your training, and in your recovery. Guys, this is something you really need to know. Let me break it down and you can thank me later. If as a man you regularly drink beer, you are not just taking in empty calories. One of beer main ingredients, hops, contains phytoestrogens. These are plant-based compounds that act in the body in a way similar to estrogen, the female sex hormone, which means in men the hormonal balance shifts. Testosterone takes a backseat while the estrogen-like effect takes over. That's bad news for your sex life, your performance, and definitely your aesthetics. And the consequences are easy to see. The classic beer belly appears, but it's not just fat, it's hormonally driven fat storage, especially around the stomach and waist. And for many, there's another unpleasant side effect. The breast tissue reacts to this estrogen-like effect and gynecomastia can develop. In other words, man boobs. And that's not only an aesthetic issue, it's a brutal psychological hit. Nobody wants to look like their grown breasts while they're grinding it out in the gym. That's why I always say beer isn't just food in a drink, it's a hormonal bomb. If someone drinks it regularly, long term they're setting themselves up for a body and performance that's the exact opposite of what most men want to see in the mirror or bring into the bedroom. If it were me, even if I drank alcohol, beer is the one thing I would stay far away from. And if that's a message for the beer companies, sorry, but I'm not here to sugarcoat it. Alright, we now cleared up the basics. We know how alcohol affects your body in the short term, your mind and your athletic performance. But let's look at what happens over time. Because the real problem isn't in the first sip, it's when it becomes a habit, the downward slope. Behind getting hooked on alcohol, there's never just biology, there's always a person, a personal story, a tendency, and the reason rooted in the soul. Because a drink never becomes routine on its own. There's always something you're trying to escape from, silence, or cover up. And here's the truly frightening part. Even for someone who starts out with a perfectly healthy mental state, alcohol can still become a problem. Biology doesn't discriminate. If you keep pouring it in, sooner or later the cycle begins. Tolerance, compulsion, dependence. It's a straight road to anyone can end up on. But now imagine what happens if someone already comes with a fragile mental background, if trauma, toxic family patterns, abuse, or unresolved losses are buried inside them. For them, alcohol isn't just a drink, it's not just a way to switch off, an illusion that temporarily seals up the wounds, while in reality, with every sip, it tears them wider open. For someone like this, alcohol isn't just a social habit, it becomes a painkiller. And that's what makes it truly deadly. Because when something doesn't give you a solution, but only an escape, you bind yourself to it much more tightly. At that point, we are no longer talking about a casual weekly drink. We are talking about a life where every feeling starts being filtered through alcohol. Joy, sadness, anger, tension. The drink becomes the lens through which life itself is experienced. This is a spiral where biology and psychology meet. On the inside, your organs quietly carry the burden. The liver works overtime, more and more cells die and scar tissue builds up in their place, eventually leading to liver damage, even cirrhosis. The heart strains under the load, blood pressure rises, and the immune system weakens. And while your body is falling apart from the inside, on the outside it can still look like everything's fine. That illusion is one of the most dangerous parts because it makes so many people wake up far too late. And while biology shifts like this, your mind is changing too. You start to link positive feelings more and more to drinking, and without noticing it, the glass shows up in more and more situations. At first only at parties, then after a hard day, then on a regular evening with dinner or while watching TV, and finally you realize the drink is just there in your everyday life and you don't even remember when it moved in. That's the moment when what once felt like pleasure becomes an invisible compulsion. Alcohol isn't just a drink, it's a symbol, a sign of whatever it is you can't or won't face. And if you approach it from a place of instability with a fragile inner state, then the slope only goes one way. At that point, there's no real conversation left about sports or performance because the desire to move simply disappears. The gym or the field is no longer the setting, the bar counter is. If you've been following this channel for a while, you already see the frightening resemblance here. The mechanism is the same as with sugar, with smoking, with energy drinks. Different substances, but the same trap. So, what's the conclusion? How do I see this whole situation? Where can we draw the lines? That's what I want to uncover in this third block. Let's pause for a moment here, because what I told you at the beginning was only one chapter of what I've been through. Throughout my life, I've experienced pain, loss, dead ends, but what I learned from all of it is that experience isn't something to bury, it's something to build on. And that's exactly why I created the Final Form team, because I know what it feels like when you can't see the way out, and I also know the power of having a community that lifts you up. This is a constructive way forward for anyone fighting their own demons. Take my hand, take the hand of this team, and start moving with us. And if you don't struggle with those problems, but simply want to become a better version of yourself, fitter, stronger, more confident, we are here for that too. That's what this team about: sport, community, growth. That's why Final Form isn't just a workout plan, it's also mental guidance, a nutrition guide, and a full recipe collection, because I know life doesn't get decided in just one dimension. It's not only about training, it's about what you eat, what you think about yourself, and how you handle your inner struggles. So here's my ask: try the free workouts in the app. If you feel the strength of it, step up to premium. Download it from the App Store or Google Play, and don't let unsolved problems or inner trauma derail your life. Channel them into something constructive instead, because change begins the moment you decide, and that decision is yours right now, if you are strong enough to draw the line. When you decide to put down alcohol, the very first days are the hardest. Your body goes into shock because for years it's been fed the same poison, and now suddenly you've taken it away. Tremors, sweating, sleepless nights, anxiety. The dopamine-cortisol balance that alcohol completely tore apart now struggles to reset, and the process is brutal. Your nervous system traces, and every cell is screaming the same thing: give me more. That first week feels like hell itself. Then comes the first month. It's still hard, but tiny changes begin to show. Your thinking starts to clear. Your body is no longer spending all its energy on processing alcohol. Sleep slowly improves. It's not perfect yet, but you will wake up some mornings actually rested. Psychologically, this is the toughest stretch. What used to be there every single day is suddenly gone. That emptiness pulls many people back, but if you push through, you will feel your very first real dopamine hit again, from training, from movement, from being with people instead of from a drink. By 3 months, you're in a completely different place. Your liver has already started to regenerate, inflammation decreases, your hormones begin to stabilize, and you start to feel your energy return. Most importantly, your desire to do things comes back. This is where sport becomes therapy. The dopamine that alcohol used to give you now arrives naturally, from a run, from a push-up, from a win you earn with your own effort. And that joy, that's pure. After 6 months, both your body and your mind feel reborn. Your organs keep regenerating, your nervous system grows more and more stable, and what once felt like a daily battle slowly turns into something natural. It's no longer the drink that pops into your head first. It's the thought of what you will train, what you will create, and how you will move forward. And after a year, you can finally say it out loud. This is a different life. You are not just someone who quit drinking, you are a new person. Someone who doesn't run from problems anymore, but faces them and solves them. The road is hard, but every stage comes with its own gift. The first week teaches you endurance. The first month teaches you how to handle the void. 3 months teaches you how to feel joy again. 6 months teach you how to build. And the year teaches you how to truly live. And this is where the power of community comes in. Alone, it's the hardest. But when you have a team, a friend, a mentor, someone who holds your hand and walks the same path, then even on the toughest days, you will always have someone to say, it's okay if today is hard. Let's go together. This is exactly why I created Finaform. I have clients inside the app right now who are fighting serious alcohol battles, and I can only hope that one day I will be able to share their success stories with you too. I'm not here to tell you to never drink alcohol. Let's be real. It has brought good moments into everyone's life, even for those who campaign the hardest against it. It has in mine too. I don't like hypocrisy, but what's also true is that it's incredibly hard to keep moderation without a hard party ending in tears at the very least. Especially today, in 2025, when mentally almost everyone feels on edge. What do I think about this? Honestly, I believe alcohol is actually worse than some substances that are still considered illegal drugs today. So why is it there? Because according to Fortune Business Insights, it brings in $2,413.8 billion every single year. Let that number sink in. Or rather, try not to, because it's almost impossible to even grasp. Look at the whole model. The profit alcohol generates from its popularity is beyond words, but that doesn't change the reality. It's nothing more than a legally available psychoactive drug. And I deeply regret that it destroys families, people, entire life, all because it's allowed for the sake of profit. In my opinion, it shouldn't even have a place on the market. Of course, it's a complex issue, because at the end of the day, alcohol addiction is a disease. The absence of control, awareness, character, and willpower. And maybe things would look very different if people were more conscious. Seeing all this over time, I was able to forgive my father, because I know that he was sick. But the experience shaped my entire life and the way I see alcohol. There's a picture I once saw. 2 brothers side by side. Their father wasn't exactly a role model. Because of that, one of them fell apart while the other became successful and conscious. And above their heads, the same line was written. It turned out this way because of the childhood they had. I knew from the very first moment what I didn't want to become, and that awareness has been my compass ever since. I know some of you might ask if it's hard for me to talk about this or if it still hurts. The answer is no, because I know who I am and I am at peace with myself. And you need this information, so we are good. For that reason, I'm deeply grateful to the life for this lesson. If you would pity me, don't. Let it give you strength, not sympathy. The only time you should feel sorry for me is if I wasn't sitting here right now, speaking from this place of clarity, if the outcome has been different. That's why I always say, and maybe this helps me to reach a little deeper into your hearts. I know life isn't easy. I could tell you countless more stories, but none of it excuses anything, and life doesn't stop, and life isn't fair. Those are the rules. So when someone seems hard or unyielding, it doesn't mean they don't have heart. Quite the opposite. What's the conclusion of today's video? To know who you are. And if you don't, then find out. Know exactly how far that blanket stretches. Be aware of what you reach for, why you reach for it, and how far you can go. But make sure those limits are set beforehand, not shifted in the middle of the moment. If you feel like things are really bad, know that you're absolutely not alone in this. And also know that alcohol will never be the solution, never the answer. Asking for help, it's not weakness. It's one of the strongest and bravest things you can do in this situation. As an athlete, it doesn't fit into a diet. Period. Training just for fun? After this video, you will be able to answer that question for yourself. And if you feel like someone in your life needs to hear this, share it with them. In the comments, I want to know what this topic stirred up in you. Don't hold back. Tell me what you feel, what you think. I won't ask a directed question this time because I've said it all. What matters is your personal reaction. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe so you don't miss the next ones, because as you can see, we talk about everything that shapes lifestyle. This isn't just a fitness channel, it's about community and real change. As we wrap up, I don't want to push the promo too hard, because you already know what this channel stands for: honesty, growth, and the courage to face tough topics. But if you feel like you need a supportive community, I warmly recommend the Final Form group, where you will find real stories and daily motivation. And if you're looking for a genuine progress, download the Final Form app. I don't need to list everything it includes, you already know. Workout, guides, programs, recipes, and community. The point is, if you would like to be a part of an environment like this, we are here with open arms. Thank you from the heart for being here and for watching this video. If you are curious about the 5 most important exercises every beginner should know to build the foundation for everything, check out this video right here or click on one of the playlists. I will see you next Sunday. And you know what's interesting? After every topic we cover, this line always takes on a new meaning. Training is just the first step. The real change is you.